Don't stop. Don't stop. Like anyone should know. Like anyone should know. You brought the cheese into my life. You plopped it down onto a plate. You made me feel like you didn't know what you were doing. What you were doing. You brought the veg into my life. You sliced it up on that same plate. You made me feel like you didn't know what you were doing, what you were doing. But it was all a simple hoax. You knew exactly what it was. That charcuterie board, it changed my life. It changed my life, yeah!
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, it's a good intro, I think.
Yeah.
You worked hard on that, right?
I worked at least 2 hours.
At least 2 hours. I think that's 2 hours well spent. You produced a little something. You learned a little something.
Yeah.
Good effort.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you're looking at a screen and wondering what the heck is going on, perhaps you've stumbled upon something that you did not intend to. But you know what? That's what life is sometimes. Sometimes you're scrolling through your many feeds and something appears and it's
scrolling. Yeah.
It's quite absurd, quite interesting, quite absurd.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. We can actually show our faces on here.
I think
Did you
the purple-eyed guinea pig is definitely a thumb stopper.
It is. It is. I
Yeah.
would hope so. And also, the simple message that purple-eyed guinea pig has for everyone. I think
I don't know. It's a toss-up question over whether we should keep that or do you want to change it to, webcams of two white guys?
I know it's a difficult. We have at least one viewer right now. So
Do
maybe
we
that
have a
one viewer,
polling? We have one. Hello, one viewer.
whoever you might be.
Hello, Chris's mom. Thank you for joining
It could
us.
be. It could be my mom. I don't know that my mom knows that this exists yet.
Right. She's a great lady, and she's going to watch eventually, and I'm sure she's going to have some very constructive criticism.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, we do have a comment here. Let's see. Oh, Mr. Bob Daniels is watching.
Oh,
Hi,
love Bob Daniel.
Love that guy. And we are live on 3 different platforms right now.
Yes.
The LinkedIn, the YouTubes, and the Facebooks.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, it's only showing me that Bob Daniel is watching on YouTube. So thanks, Bob, for watching our YouTube channel.
Very many thanks to you, Bob Daniel. You're close. I would venture to say, friend of the show.
Friend of the show, Bob Daniel.
Yes, good friend of the show.
He says back at you. We can show his comment, which is fun.
We are.
So if we're going to show his comment, we might as well show our commentary, I think.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah. Oh my. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that cavern you're in right now? That's amazing.
The booth?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is this is a design that I stole from a friend of mine, and they called theirs the eyesore. So I can't call it the eyesore. But yes, I do. I am in a closet lined with acoustic blankets and a diffuser above me, and this is where I do my recording. This is where the magic happens, and thus this room in my smart home setup is called Narnia.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Bob Daniel wanted to comment. First time listener, longtime fan. Always. And also, I should go ahead and let it out there. I knew where you were. I know exactly where you're standing right now. And me pretending like I didn't know what it was just a caveat to keep the conversation.
You're kind of like fishing out the exposition. I get it.
Exactly.
It's absolutely. We're like, hey, well, we know, but does our viewer know? Does our viewer?
We've doubled our viewership.
We've doubled. Oh, if we keep up like this.
My dear friend Susan Dacus is here.
Hello, Susan.
Often mispronounced as Dakes. I say friend. She's actually my sister, but she's a friendly sister, so
okay,
that's a good thing. But yeah, I was going to try and explain to people why this exists, why we are here.
I think stating the purpose is probably overdue at this point.
Okay, so now that we've tripled our viewership. Now that we've tripled our viewership, let me state the purpose of what the 60-Foot Guinea Pig Podcast is.
Yes.
I have, for as many years as I've been mentally capable, have had ideas, have had explosions, metaphysical fireworks in my brain.
Epiphanies, moments of prescience and eurekas and
exactly, and more words that I can't pronounce. And a lot of those things are really bold, really exciting ideas that I'll have, say, in the middle of the night and or in the middle of the day. It doesn't really matter, and they never see past my brain. They never go past this doorway. And I think you are of a similar nature, may I say?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want you to keep going before I dive into that too much.
So I built this metaphor for what happens with my ideas that never go anywhere, that never exit my brain, is they exist in a giant guinea pig. We'll just say that, a 60-foot guinea pig. swallows my ideas and keeps them.
Right.
So they are banked away in this guinea pig
Yeah.
until such a time that I call upon Horace and say, Horace, please fetch hither that idea I had in 1993 that would change all of reality, because
Yeah.
now it's time. The time has come. So
The time has come. 30 years later.
31 years? No, not quite 31 years.
Sometimes, well, I mean, sometimes you got to let things simmer.
That's true. You do.
Right.
You do.
Yeah.
So that's me. So what about yourself?
Yeah. Mine tend to be more oriented with writing. Like, pieces and chapters of a book that I've been writing in my head since not 93, but definitely, I think I started writing it in my head in 2015. And that's not an impressive feat. I've got like maybe 4 chapters. That's it. But they're really good. And they're very, very thought out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they only exist in my head. And little pieces occur to me sometimes while I'm out, working in the yard or driving someplace or doing something where it's not convenient for me to go and write down that idea.
Right.
And then I just think about that idea really, really hard and hope that I will recall it later. But yeah, I mean, I think we all make a lot of plans. You, sir, have great aspiration. You make big plans.
Too big.
And so I think, like, when I make small plans and I don't do them, I feel a little bad. So when you make big plans and don't do them, I mean, you just have your self-loathing must really be.
Actually, no. I there was a time in my life where I had a lot of self-loathing, but I think when I started to grasp the situation that I am in, and I will say this, once we had a pre-existing conversation with another gentleman who was a part of this podcast at one time, and we'll come back most likely. I will say his name, Christopher Susi.
I was going to say Mr. Susi, yeah.
Yes. It's the only other person we've talked to on the podcast, by the way.
Sometimes I'm blackout drunk on these. I'm going to lean on it.
That's true. That's true.
My mind just says, you know what? I got this. Don't worry.
But so when we spoke to him, it put me at ease. And we've had these conversations before, not you and I, but me and Chris have had these conversations before where he put me at ease as far as how ideas proliferate in the brain and then maybe don't see the light of day. And that's okay.
Yes.
That's okay.
Sure.
Because the act of creativity in itself is, it is an exercise. It's a rhythm that you keep going through. So you're basically working out your brain, your creative part of your brain.
Yeah,
and sometimes ideas just don't go anywhere. And that's okay. So I'm giving you freedom. I'm giving you the freedom to.
Well, I'm going to jump in there. Thanks I appreciate the freedom that you've granted me, white man.
Oh God,
I think
I'm gonna hide us again. I'm just.
Okay. No, I think I 100% agree with what Susie's talking about, because I do very strongly believe that neural pathways are like muscles. And the more that you use certain pathways, the stronger that they get, and the more that the brain, which is a lazy organ, tends to favor those things. So if you're, I mean, I don't want to go anywhere near sounding like a life coach. Not that there's anything wrong with it. If you're a life coach, I respect you, and that's cool. But I don't like platitudes and flippant generalisms. But I think
platitudes. Those are that's like that. Looks like a duck, but it's also looks like a beaver.
Yeah, it's a mammal, but it lays eggs. But I do think that if you don't push yourself away from being negative about things, you will tend to grow more and more negative and more favorably negative, and it'll be tremendously difficult to get yourself out of that mindset much later in life. I still have those things that I'm dealing with myself. And yeah, and this is one of those positive exercises. So this is why I even agreed to do this. Yeah, that's a solid.
Oh, wait, I
thumbs
can
up.
do something. This
All
will be
right.
fine.
So, well, I have a question to you because I need to be the surrogate for the audience.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's so now the question is this podcast a an idea that Horace took that you took back and now you're acting on that idea?
Yes.
Or is this podcast a place where we're just going to talk about, hey, wouldn't it be great?
No,
Because-
this is this is one of
Good,
those
because that
ideas.
podcast is called Non-Starters. And
Yeah.
I think that might have a lower viewership, a lower subscriber base than this one.
No, we've
Yeah.
talked about this for a while, and we've
Yeah.
talked about doing a podcast. Of course,
Sure.
we spoke of the two guys that don't know about a topic and are investing some time in it and learning that. That was a separate podcast altogether. Maybe it'll come back.
I
at
still
some
liked
point.
that concept.
I like it too.
I don't know that it had big legs, but it had little legs.
Yeah.
But
Tiny
then
legs,
it ran
short
into the
legs.
fact that, you and I both have families and jobs,
Mhm.
and nor are we independently wealthy.
Not I.
Nor are we part of, any of the big podcast networks.
Not yet.
Not yet. We're not even sponsored by Squarespace yet. I mean, but we might get there someday.
We may get there someday.
What's your great aspiration? Is to do an ad? Is to do a embedded ad for Simply Safe? I think that's going to be our marker for success.
I'm actually thinking Terminex.
Terminex? Okay.
Terminex, yes. What are we imbibing? I'm having a little Sauvignon Blanc.
Are you?
Yes.
No. Noel asked
Are we there
me
yet?
right before. I'm not, because Noel
Okay.
asked me, like, can you drink during this? And I said, I don't know that it's a good idea.
I think it's fine. I know that there are people in this world that believe that one should not drink while doing a podcast. I am on the other end of that. I think, especially at 7 p.m. I mean, come on, it's 7 p.m. somewhere, and
it's 7:14 on the East Coast right now.
At this time,
on a Thursday.
Yes.
So maybe not to excess, but maybe,
right, not to
maybe a
excess.
cocktail. Yeah,
No.
maybe a little snort, as my grandfolk would say.
My grandmother's.
Right.
Yeah.
The grand.
So speaking of drinking,
yes.
So I had the chance to go out last night and go to a mixology.
That's right. You did say
expedition.
that. Okay.
Yes.
Tell me. Spill.
I was very excited about it because
Yeah.
we were going to be doing some bourbon drinks, and you know that I enjoy bourbon, and you yourself have
Absolutely.
yes
Yeah.
enjoyed the Kentucky Brown from time to time. So
Kentucky Brown never had a shot at the Triple Crown.
he didn't.
Brown,
He didn't.
just,
Or she didn't. I don't know.
300 to 1 odds.
I'm not saying that we're blending up a horse and drinking it. That's not
No.
what I'm saying at all.
No.
But yeah, I had the chance to go out, see some friends, and enjoy some bourbon mixed drinks.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure what type of bourbon it would be. I thought at first it was going to be Buffalo Trace.
Mm-hmm.
I got to the establishment and it was Knob Creek, which I wasn't sad about. I'll say that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So we had, for those bourbon enthusiasts who are currently watching, I'm sure of the 6 of you that are watching, at least one enjoys bourbon.
Yeah.
This was Knob Creek, but it was a single barrel bourbon.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which, if you don't know the distinction of what a single barrel bourbon is, and there's somebody cares for us right now, so thank you for the caring. I appreciate.
Thank you. That. We care right back.
We do.
That's me being positive for those neural pathways. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. So single barrel Knob Creek.
Single barrel Knob Creek. So a single barrel means that it's carried in the same type of barrel every time, in the same environment every time. Any variables, and that becomes a different barrel, basically.
Yes.
Now, if you have a blend, which is more common in the bourbon world, say, give me a name. Give me a name of a bourbon that would be a blend, a common bourbon.
Well, you mean a blend, or you mean homogenized when
A homogenized, we'll say that,
Yeah.
not a blend.
Maker's Mark? That's a good one.
Maker's Mark. Say Maker's Mark. They have 100 barrels in the warehouse for Maker's Mark, and the Maker's Mark barrel warehouse exists in Kentucky. It exists in another state, and another state, and another state, and wherever you go. Well, I say that, but wherever you go and you have Maker's Mark, it's always going to be that homogeneous thing.
Yeah,
right?
that's how they make a consistent product.
Exactly.
They have pros that go in there and they taste out 300 barrels.
Mhm.
I think it might be 100. I
Mhm.
can't remember what they put into a batch.
And that
But-
guy is pretty lit by the end.
Oh
of
my
the,
God,
yeah.
he whoever has
He
that
spits
job
it out.
dies.
Yeah.
They die every 3 years.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Their livers explode.
It's just their livers
Where
are
cirrhosis
huge.
comes from.
Yeah. The liver is the size of their abdomen.
It's
It's a bad thing.
But they taste out 100, 300 barrels, and they
Mhm.
pick the whole lot in order so that when all of that comes together, it has a deeply consistent flavor. And they just do that over and over and over again. And it's Makers. I mean, they make they make a metric ton of bourbon every year.
A metric ton.
Probably more
Or,
than that, but that's just my standard moment of
what would that be in a
hyperbole.
standard ton? What?
Oh, please don't ask me math.
Convert now.
No.
But anyway, it was a wonderful
Right.
time. We mixed 2 drinks while sitting there, and
Yes.
we were brought one when we came in, so they actually had one for us. And then we mixed the 2
how
other
cordial.
drinks. It
Yeah.
was. It's very cordial. Very privileged. I'll
Okay.
say.
All right, you're teasing this lead around. So what did you make? What did you drink, and what did you make?
Oh man, if I only had the card in front of me, which is existing in the other room right now. But one was a grapefruity, a grapefruity type of drink, and that was the single barrel bourbon that we made with the grapefruity type of drink. It had a splash of grapefruit seltzer something on top.
Okay.
As well as having simple syrup, bourbon, and oh man, there was another type of liquor that was involved there.
Okay.
So I will I'll be sure to post it in the comments later so that those that are mixologists can enjoy. And then the second one was a rye. So we had a rye as well as the grapefruit old fashioned. Maybe I don't know that it's an old fashioned, Susan, but it was very good. She likes a good old fashioned. Yes, she does.
Don't we all?
Yes. But yeah, the second one was a rye, and it had orange bitters and Agostino bitters.
Angostura.
Yeah, Angostura bitters. Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're both delicious.
That's
Both delicious.
great.
Yes.
I'm gonna pay that off with 2 recipes for our listeners.
Okay, good.
Both of them. I think 2 cocktails that I enjoy most frequently in my home. They're really easy to make, and they pull you back from just drinking straight whiskey. Is a Boulevardier, which is really simple to make and really easy to remember because it's actually a Negroni made with bourbon instead of gin. So it is. The recipe would call for whatever your measurements. If you're using a jigger or a tablespoon or whatever, the parts are equal across. So it's 1 part rye. You really don't want to use a good bourbon for a heavily flavored cocktail. So 1 part rye or bourbon if you prefer. It's your house. 1 part Campari and 1 part sweet vermouth. I personally prefer Formula Antica as a sweet vermouth over some of the other brands. It is a little bit more spendy, but it lasts a very, very long time. And if you make a Boulevardier like I do, you also put an extra half part of bourbon into that mix, just so that weighs a little bit heavy across the cocktail. You serve that with a rind of an orange, and that is rain or shine, warm or cold. That is just a delightful cocktail to have next to somebody that you like, who hopefully also likes cocktails.
Yeah, one would hope. So that's us tying up the alcohol portion of the show.
Yeah. Are we sponsored by bourbon yet?
Well, not yet. We're working on it.
Okay.
We're
All
working
right.
on it. It's a slow needle.
Okay,
Slow
no more
I call
brand
them-
names. No more brand names until the
no more
phone
brand
rings.
names.
Yeah.
Exactly. Makers, you're gonna. Oh, well, that's. I didn't say
What
the
did
full
what did
brand
we
name. It's
just
okay.
say?
Buffalo Trace.
Right.
Oh, we do have a favorite though, or at least I have a favorite, and I think you share it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But until we get the
But we're
call,
going to move on until they call us.
we're going to move on. So we did talk about a couple of topics that we could discuss, and I think there's a hot topic right now.
Yes.
For everyone in our industry, our shared industry, which if some of you haven't figured it out yet because of our crazy headphones and the box that Bradley is in. Also, these doohickeys in front of us. It is voiceover.
Yes, these lovely, doohickeys. Let's just stick with that.
Doohickeys.
Mm-hmm.
So
boys with toys.
Toys with boys.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. I think that was a movie put out by Disney at one point. It didn't last, and it didn't age well either. So we're going to talk about the shift in storytelling in media in the face of AI. Let's discuss this.
Oh, sure. Well, I
Let's
mean, I think
discuss
the
this.
AI is just one part of it.
Mhm.
I'm really curious as to where, like, what are the successful films going to be in the next year to 3 years? I'm very, very curious because we are sort of exiting, content-wise, we're exiting this period where everything's a superhero. We've got, superhero outfits and side stories about the diets that the actors had to go on, and we've got, heroic journeys and sky beams and all of that business. And I've really noticed in the last couple of months with the content that was ready to go or has been able to be released since the end of the writer's strike, but we are still in the SAG-AFTRA strike,
Right.
that we're keeping these themes. We've still got these heroes and these heroic archetypes, but we're starting to try and tell very, very different stories, and I think the success is mixed.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's going to clean itself up. But really, what got me thinking about it was, I can't remember. The film was called The Creator. The director was the first director of Rogue One, and after he directed that, he kind of moved away for a little while, and he came back to do The Creator. And The Creator's gotten a lot of press for a couple of different reasons, some of them bad. But what a lot of people can agree on is that he has this very artistic eye of like sweeping landscapes and compositions, like epic composition and an incredible feeling of space in the pictures that he captures. I would suggest that Denis Villeneuve can do the same thing. And even though these are still sort of hero stories, they're not superhero stories. They're not Marvel. They're not DC. They're not fished out of comic books. But what I want to see is like, what are the kinds of stories that are going to come out of this?
Yeah.
That are we gonna come back to like personal dramas that fit in those landscapes? And are those going to be successful? Or are they going to be funded? And the reason I was thinking of it was like, I think my wager right now would be that there is going to be a return to art house films, and a new generation of writers. I hope. We desperately need a new generation of writers.
Oh, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Preferably not AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob Daniel.
That was a bit of a word salad.
No, word salad is good. I enjoy a good salad. It's roughage that we need.
Gareth Edwards. Thank you, Bob.
Gareth Edwards. Yes.
Very much appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Daniel with the handoff.
The man knows his stuff.
He does.
So I will say this. Actually, I need to go to one of our destinations because I'm reading that some destinations cannot post comments. So I need to check in on our lovely folks that may or may not be watching us on LinkedIn.
Well, you should fix that, and then I'll just continue.
I don't know that there's a fix, but
here's here's the harsh comparison is I can watch Denis Villeneuve movies just over and over and over again. And that surprised me because Blade Runner 2049, I saw that in the theater and I walked out and I felt a tremendous sense of disappointment because that film's narrative is essentially a whodunit, right? And like its predecessor, there was this question that was asked throughout the movie that was the undertone of it. And maybe, I think 2049 addressed the question much more directly. But in the original, the movie ends and you, as the viewer, are left to answer the question of whether or not, well, if the question even occurs to you, of whether or not the character of Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, is or is not a replicant. In 2049, there are no loose ends. Everything is answered for you. So when I left that movie, I enjoyed it tremendously, but I had no great sense of wanting to go back and see it again because I knew what the answer was. I know the closing of the film. And then after, 2 weeks or maybe right as it went on digital release, I watched it again. And with that, with Dune, with a couple of other films, I mentioned The Seven Samurai on social the other day, and I think Bob Daniel gave me a thumbs up on that as well, because Kurosawa's use of compression and composition is just amazing. It transcends the story, and these are the things that I can really, really get wrapped up in. And I like those. I stopped caring so much about the stars. And I'm just more curious about, what is actually happening and how are things being portrayed and the details. I love the details in terms of how they put those things together. And it's tough. And the reason that this is kind of a constipated thinking is because then I can go and look at the latest Mission Impossible film. And it's like there's so many explosions and gun scenes and amazing stunts. And I just don't care. I don't care one bit. There's nothing that's I just didn't enjoy it, and I felt like it was all done for the gag and not really done for any kind of art. It's just like purely entertainment society kind of production. I'm going to stop talking for a second so that you can come back in.
Excellent. And now is a good time for us to
yes, and now we're going to take a commercial break.
Yeah, we actually are. We're going to take a commercial break right now because we do have one sponsor, which is so exciting. I'm glad that we could get these guys on board.
Oh,
did. And that is the good people at Liberty who have brought you so many wonderful products over the years.
Yeah.
But this one in particular, I think, says a lot. So we're going to go ahead and go to our first commercial. And how small it appears, I don't understand why. We'll figure that out. Oh, here we go.
Hi, I'm Bilford Wimley. Are you a humanoid cryptid with huge hands having difficulty and Liberty just takes a small portion of those funds. And now, a cryptid can finally swipe right with a hand you used to know. Just call 777
Well,
555
thank you.
5LLL to
Liberty
get started
Lim Loss
today.
Lease for
Liberty
doing absolutely
Lim Loss
nothing for us
Lease,
because
it's easier than
I
building
don't
a bigger
understand
phone.
technology. Oh, he says the sound's back, which is amazing.
Yeah, it was back about 5 seconds ago.
Okay.
We were all enjoying watching you talk over your own ad.
All right, just because I'm that much of an idiot, we're going to play it one more time for you because we do have the extra minute in our schedule.
No.
Okay, all right, we won't. Yes, thank you, Liberty Lim Loss Lease, for keeping cryptids and humans collaborating.
Everybody needs their limbs.
Yeah. Oh, actually, Bob's like, please. I don't know if he's saying please bring it back or please no more. And I'll go with the second.
I think the latter. Sure.
Yeah. So on to the topic that you were discussing just now, and something that has.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about.
I like pictures. I like pretty pictures. I think that's what I was saying.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You like pretty pictures, and you like the stories behind those pretty pictures. Be exhaustively detailed and whoa, sorry, I have a dog.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to say right now because we're in the. Oscar bait season is upon us. The next 3 months is. Is going to be nonstop, a touching portrayal. And there's going to be a lot of that, of tragedies. And, I don't know, some of them may be very good. Shouldn't cast judgment just because they're coming out in November and December, but we'll see.
Well, one of the things that I noticed recently, the certain streaming service has come out with a compendium of stories, not written by anyone modern, but written by someone from the past, and that would be from the books of Roald Dahl, or the stories of Roald Dahl. And Wes Anderson has created these small movies based on Roald Dahl's lesser known works. So,
I had seen I'd seen pieces of those ads. I had no idea where they were sourced from.
Yeah. So
Except
it's
for just the cinematography just screams Wes Anderson.
Absolutely.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Please go on.
No. It's perfectly okay because for one thing, it is Wes Anderson, who is a director who is or is not SAG. I'm not sure. And then the cast of actors are all not from the United States. I'll say that. So we've got Benedict Cumberbatch, Ralph Fiennes, and several others. So it is an interesting amalgamation of ways to get stories done, even in this time when the breadth of at least American actors cannot work, and there's not any real fresh writing as of this point. I mean, it's being done, of course, and people who are working on things before the strike are now working on them again, but you can't produce that fast. So I think it was interesting that he pulled these old stories and created this new visual, and they're compelling for sure because Roald Dahl was a compelling author. But yeah, it is interesting. It's interesting where we're having to source things, I guess.
No, I watched one of those, and I believe it was the one with Ralph Fiennes as the rat catcher.
Oh, the rat catcher, yes.
And was it called the rat catcher?
It was.
Being pedantic? Okay, yeah.
No.
It's I really enjoyed that, and I think that very, very quickly you can get the sense of these that they are prose. But also just as quickly the art direction and the cinematography start to carry it and make it so easy to go along with the story. And that feels like a generalization. I wish I'd had time to prepare for this.
No.
Um,
You're absolutely right. And I'm sorry I got you
it
cold
all
there.
works together. It all,
Mhm.
like the cinematography, the shots, the lines, the incredible performances by the actors. They all really come together, and they make it very, very tight and very, very admirable, and so easy to get into. And I have wanted to watch the two others. I just know that they're longer,
Mhm.
and I want to sit down and have half an hour to
There are 3
really
others.
absorb those. Oh, there are three others.
There
Okay.
are 3, yes.
We'll get back to that. But that's not really
Yeah.
what we were talking about. That what we're really talking about, though, is where is the near term content production gonna come from?
Yeah.
Who's gonna jump on that? And I think you're right. I think public domain is gonna be. I think everybody's gonna go to that well one way or another. And when you have to do that, when you set those constraints on yourself, when you say you don't like, let's say you don't have Christopher McQuarrie who's, just gonna pick up the phone and write a screenplay for you at any given moment, um, that there are gonna be certain guardrails around what people can produce, and I hope that will foster more creativity and storytelling, um, or give a new generation a chance to make something beautiful and share it out, and they can actually get people's attention away from necessarily the summer blockbuster season in 6 months.
Mm,
We shall see.
we shall. But, again, back to AI.
Yeah.
Which was a part of the conversation. We didn't really go into it, but,
Mm. The dark arts.
yeah, and honestly, I feel like it's beating a dead horse right now, just
How
because
so?
so much has been said about it thus far, and it is
Yeah.
something that we can't avoid. It has
Mhm.
already become a part of our lives more and more in
Yeah.
the last couple of months,
Yeah.
uh, even if we don't see it.
Mhm.
It is definitely there. So,
Like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
yes,
Yeah. Like, we don't see him, but he's there.
he's always there.
He's always there.
Um, he's painted with mud most of the time that he's in
Yeah,
my
when he's under
experience.
the mud, you can't see him. Nobody can see him.
Right,
That's
right.
Yeah, they had to use a special lens just so that we could see him in that movie, but yeah.
Also, the fires exploding behind him kind of, your eyes is going
Right,
that way, so
right.
you don't even notice what is he, 6 feet? I think he's only 6 feet, actually,
Yeah, I think so.
but he's a broad man. He's a very broad man, unlike
He could kill us
me.
both with his pinky. I don't know
He
why we're
he
even
could
discussing this. He would have people kill us.
Yeah,
That's
that's true. That's true, and hopefully no one's recording this.
right.
Um, but to that end, AI, Arnold Schwarzenegger, AS, um, we have to deal with it. So
Yeah.
how do we deal with it as voice actors?
Well, as voice actors, um, I'm not sure how we deal with it yet.
Mhm.
I think the culpability rests jointly on the people who are producing and creating the work and the actors who are contributing their voices to the
Mhm.
work. I think I shared this with you really early on when the writer's strike happened. I got a spec, excuse me, I got a contract for a job, and in the contract, it was written out clearly that no part of my performance would be used to train any AI, nor would any part of my performance be sold. Like, it was all inclusive. It was like 3 or 4 lines, like explicitly stating that everything that I would do would go towards the purpose of the booking, an ad. It would be an ad and the usual stuff. It'll appear online and on radio or whatever else, and nothing else. And I really respected that whoever was producing that got out ahead and said, we agree that this is not something that we're going to do for, this particular paycheck. And then it's also on actors to make sure that they need to go to their managers and their agents or their pay-to-play websites, whoever is managing their work and guaranteeing the contracts and enforcing things needs to also be way up front for that. Because I think it might have even been Bob Daniel in a conversation really early on in COVID of like very, very shady bookings of people going in and reading pages and pages and pages for, a couple of hours, and them thinking they got away with a crime because they got paid, $5,000 for, a 2-hour booking with no usage rights, that, they just made that money, and then found out later that in fact, what they were doing was they were training AI. And now that their voice may be mixed into some bitch's brew and turned into an AI assistant of some kind, or a call center response shortcut or something like that. So it's the people who are producing good content, and we know they're out there because they also pay actors what they're worth. And we just had a strike about this, and I'm sorry, we're continuing to have a strike about this. And then you have the agents that need to make sure that that's part of things. And then we as actors, all actors, and I do mean all actors. I don't mean just the top 1% of people who are famous, but I mean the people who listened to something last week and said, I think I want to give this a go. They need to be conscious that they can't go on to Fiverr and book a gig for $2 because that erodes the industry that they want to be a part of. And by the time that they make it, the industry will be gone.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
and to that end, I just wanted to bring up that we fully support the Entertainment Community Fund for those that are currently out of work. If you are affected by it, just go to entertainmentcommunity.org. You can seek help there. And if you're willing to give, please give. It is always good to give to this because a lot of people don't realize it. I know that you and I have talked about it, or at least know about it. The fact that a lot of the people in the entertainment community have done that their whole life, and they're not making big bucks. They're day players or background, or they may do session work or something like that, and they get paid. If they get paid a living wage, it's amazing. Most of the time they're under 40K, under 30K, under 20K a year.
National average for voice actors last year, I think the average annual income for a voice actor was $18K.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mine's much less than that, but that's okay because it's not my full-time gig, and I think you and I are lucky that way, but a lot of people aren't. It's what they do.
I want to go back to AI for a second.
Yeah.
I think there's a really interesting piece that came out. I don't know all the details, so if you're listening to this and you do know all the details, please don't flame me in the comments. I only know the things that got in front of me in terms of the results of the negotiations with the Writers Guild. That there are going to be minimums of numbers of writers that are working on TV shows, that studios can't turn to AI to write their scripts. They have to use writers. And I thought that was really interesting because if I recalled the verbiage correctly, it's essentially that the studios can't use AI. They have to use writers. But I don't know if there was any information in the negotiation over whether the writers themselves can use AI.
Interesting.
And this, I want to get back to your point earlier, which is it's here. It's part of, it's part of us now. It's part of how we function. It's no different than, cars used to be built on assembly lines in factories by people, and now they are built by robots. And we have to negotiate this better. But since I actually manage writers as part of my day job, I have actually instructed them to use AI.
Mm.
And the my line about it is it'll get you about 40% there. It will certainly help you get over the wall. Like if you're in a block, um, it is kind of a negative neural pathway training thing of you can ask AI to write something for you and you can see how bad it is. And that might inspire it has inspired me to say, I know how to write that the right way.
Hmm.
And that gets me past the writer's block.
Mm.
So I wind up using nothing that the computer wrote, but I do use the computer essentially as a knowledgeable conversation in order to get me in a different direction and open me up. Um, and I encourage other people to do the same thing. I wonder what the details of using it that way are going to be in the hands of people that need it or can use it to make their jobs better, not increase their workload to where they're dying. Um, because nobody wants that. We need to watch out on that Western capitalism. Um, but yeah, I think that's going to be a part of it. I heard a very intelligent guy say several years ago of it's not that AI isn't gonna wipe out jobs as much as jobs are gonna gravitate towards people who know how to use AI to as part of what they do for a living.
Mm. Hmm.
I thought that was an interesting perspective. And I think in the corporate world, that's absolutely true.
Yeah, and I mean we've been using tools that from the early '90s that are not things that we ever used before.
Yeah.
'80s, '90s. And they have been tools. So I kind of I'm on that vision as well. I guess you could say that this is just another tool. As long as we use it wisely, it will benefit us.
As long as we use it wisely, and quite frankly, you and I, the people like you and I and Bob and Susan and Christopher and Noah, we're not the problem.
Mhm.
we if we use these, we figure out these tools and we use these things to make our lives easier. I will never forget that when I started getting into computers, and I won't say what year that was, but it was a long time ago. And I sat down with my stepfather, and he was a lifetime teacher. Actually, both my stepfather and my father are teachers their entire lives. And he sat me down, and he was starting to understand email and the way that computers were being used in networking. And he said, I'm very concerned for you. Um, and I said, why? And he said, because I see these tools being developed, and you are going to be forced to use these tools to do more than is done right now, and you will be given less time to do it. And I was like, oh no, I'll be okay. And wow, 100% was he right.
Yeah.
I mean, just bang on. So it's great that we're developing new tools that are more advanced, but
As the tools advance,
we don't.
our ability to comprehend those advances and the speed at which they come is insurmountable.
Yeah. But our ability to utilize those tools will be preyed upon
Mm-hmm.
by people who are not regulated. I'm not saying regulation is the answer to everything, but that's why this had to go into the strike. This is why this had to go into the contract negotiations of you can't use AI to just push past the human creative power and then run your own show. And the actors are going to have to go through the same thing of like, well, you can't take how many, don't tell my stepdad that he was a modern Nostradamus. It'll go straight to his head. Thankfully he didn't write in meter. Yeah, I think it's a good thing that this is being regulated and thought out. I don't know how long this will hold them off, but we'll find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Because and we're just talking about the US, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we are our own creature. That's for sure.
We are a unique snowflake, aren't we?
Snowflakes.
All right.
What else? What I know there was other things that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, we got like very serious and kind of dark.
We did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Let's go back.
Keep it light. Let's
go.
go. You know what? I'm gonna go make a cocktail.
Okay. Please do. I'll fill the air with song. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to expose myself in that way. I will say this, that, if you have any questions for us, please feel free to ask. If you have ideas about creativity, please share. If you would like to be a guest on our podcast, I do plan on doing this again. I don't know if I told Bradley that, but I do.
You just send me the link and a time. I'll get it done.
Okay.
I definitely feel like, hey, this is not a bad first go of it.
No,
but I could have prepared more.
We both could have.
You could have prepared me more.
I could have prepared you in so many ways. So many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about the guild strikes, of course. And
Veronica Barrera is here.
Hey, Veronica. So lovely to see you.
Love me, Veronica Barrera, and her podcast.
This is wonderful that she's here, because yes, I do enjoy her podcast so much. In the past, when I did my other show, my long-lived show and short third season of the show, I believe you could call it, Veronica was one of my guests, and
yes,
she was lovely to have on. But I just want to say this real quick, that Bob says we should goose the guinea pig and see what pops out.
Well, the guinea pig is full of lost ideas, so that could produce something maybe interesting. Like, what are they doing in there?
Yeah,
are they melding together? Are they reproducing with each other?
Ooh. Kind of like that idea. I went into a Jeff Goldblum bit for just a second there. Just makes me kind of curious. That's the only Jeff Goldblum I have.
It's the worst Jeff Goldblum, man.
Thank you.
I just want you to know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With all sincerity, I take that upon myself and hug it. I'm going to hug that for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
We talked about hero exhaustion. You brought this up.
Yeah.
Tell me what you mean by that. And is this a negative conversation that we're about to go into again?
Well, no, I'll try and keep it from being negative.
Okay. Good.
Why do we have it? I think, it's because it's all there is that gets any money or any press or gets served straight to the front. At least for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is about like, what is the super fandom around what is Marvel's next movie?
Okay.
Or what is Marvel's next thing? Or what is the next DC thing?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not completely out of it. I have, it would be a stretch to say that we are still friends, but I was friends a long time ago with some people who are involved in those universes.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish them the best. I hope that they're doing well and continue to make great films and enjoy success. I'm not downing them, but just everything is something out of a comic book. And all comic books most comic books have the same root.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is super powered. Everything is hyper inflated. And sometimes I'd love to come back to something that is just a little bit more of a normal down to earth story.
Yeah.
But even just saying that, I sound incredibly boring. And I don't want that story to be boring. I want that story to be compelling. And
nobody wants that.
No.
I mean, I've
It's like,
watched
hey, maybe we should reboot Forrest Gump.
I've watched 12 seasons of Call the Midwife. I'll just admit that right now.
Okay. Oh my God!
It's
Hey,
been
the
amazing.
magic curtain has delivered. I mean, wow, that's what
amazing.
came out of the guinea pig.
we squeezed the guinea pig, and out came a bourbon
Out
drink.
came a bourbon on the rocks.
Yeah, bourbon.
Remember, folks, 2 fingers, 3 fingers.
Those is like, those are thick fingers.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what about The Boys?
I did not watch it.
Okay.
I think I've watched maybe 2 episodes.
Okay. I will say this: it is not cruelty free whatsoever.
Okay.
It's a very mature version of the superhero world.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and it's based in. I feel like it's based in our world more so than any of the others. I mean, of course, you look at Marvel, look at DC. Marvel is more based in our world than DC, but this is even more so in the fact that they all have true faults, bad faults.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm remembering now I know I watched the first episode. I might have watched more than one, but I'm recalling it. And so what were the issues that were being dealt with in that episode that I saw? Well, a superhero accidentally murders somebody. Wow, why am I laughing on that? A superhero accidentally murders an innocent. And because of their stature, because they are a superhero, because of the place that they occupy in life and in the world, they are forces move to make sure that they are protected, that it didn't happen. And and at the same time, we have this other new hero who happens to be female, and she is introduced into this larger group, and for her, she has made it. She has arrived. This is the culmination, the deliverance of her hopes and dreams. And she gets in, and the very first thing that happens is she's sexually harassed, and I believe assaulted.
Yes.
Oh my God. And so we're just using superheroes to tell very human stories there.
Yeah.
I don't need the superheroes anymore.
No.
Yeah, that's kind of where
true.
I'm at.
I would say that's true. It does add a different dimension to the story if you base that story in true problems, I guess you could say. And then you add that dimension of these are these people that are supposed to be up on pedestals, but not in a normal way of, just having money or being famous or whatever.
Right.
So that makes it interesting. But yeah, again, it is exhausting, and we do need more true stories, more Ted Lasso, kind of things.
We do.
Not to beat that into the ground, but yeah, it's it is what it is.
Well, Ted Lasso was like, and I had an argument about that with one of my colleagues because they were so they hated it. They thought it was just tripe. And I think it's a caveat that you can put on anything. And I put it on Ted Lasso specifically, which is it's all in how you're looking at it, because I'm not looking for, I know what Ted Lasso is. I know what I'm getting, and I'm good with it. I'm fine with that. It's like, what's a good comparison? Think about it like food. If you're really hungry for a gourmet meal, like, a 4 or 5 course, wonderful chef's meal with wine pairings and the perfect thoughtful portions that carry you on this culinary journey, and that's what you want. And then you go to 7-Eleven and buy a hot dog. It's not going to line up, and you're going to hate that hot dog, and you're going to be talking about how bad that hot dog was on a podcast someday.
I had the best hot dog last night.
But
we'll get into that in a minute.
But if you want a 7-Eleven hot dog and you're hungry for that, and that's what you want, and that's accessible, That's extremely accessible. Let's never
Extremely.
forget that. And we're still talking about a parallel in media. But yeah, that if that's what you want and you go and get it, it's delicious. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted Ted Lasso. I was fine to sit back and let that wash all the way over me. I was fine. Yeah.
Right. Me too. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Wow.
You made this gesture. You made this gesture.
That was the gesture of the hot dogs rotating.
I thought you were telling me to wrap it up.
No. I mean, yeah. I think that was subliminally in my mind. That was probably
I think that too. Yeah, I think you're overt or covert.
I did want to. I wanted to keep us timely.
Sure,
keep us timely, and I think that this has been a tremendously beneficial conversation for me and you,
and the first one.
and Bob Daniel says, I knew this would have had it. This would have had a TED talk. Yes, a Ted Lasso talk.
We could do an episode on Ted Lasso.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'd be fine with that.
People would love that. Two white guys of our age talking about another white guy.
They're clamoring for it. They're clamoring.
People, there's not enough of it.
Yes. There's the Hollywood.
We are
Reporter
unfairly
Variety
represented
magazine.
right now.
What do Chris and Bradley think?
I laugh because it's so delusional.
Hey, it only gets better from here.
That's true.
The expert in anything was once a beginner.
Well, I do hope that everyone has enjoyed this conversation that we've had. I do hope to have other people engaged in our conversation as well.
Oh,
if you're watching now and you know of someone who would like to join us in the creation as well as the abstraction and the pursuit of ideas, please let us know. And until next time.
Yeah. Go call your parents.
Call your mom.
Call your dad. Your mom wants you to call her.
She really does.
Ask any mom. Would you like your child to call you?
I know I would love to call my mom.
Go do it.
I probably will after this.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And let's just play the outro.
All right.
Here we go.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Don't stop. Don't stop. Like anyone should know. Like anyone should know.
We're going to hide now. Bye.
Yeah. See ya.
You dropped it down onto a plate. You made me feel like you didn't know what you were doing. You brought the veg into my life. You sliced it up on that same plate. You made me feel like you didn't know what you were doing. But it was all a simple hoax. You knew exactly what it was. That charcuterie board, it changed my life. Yeah! Don't stop. Like anyone should know. You brought the dried meat to my life. You placed it all across that plate. You drizzled honey sauce all around the edges. You brought the stone ground mustard out and placed it in a little plot. The charcuterie board, it changed my life. Yeah! Don't stop. Like anyone should know. Do stop. Please stop. The chorus is mighty weird. Just stop. Don't stop.